Hey everybody, Wildman Z here. I just want to show you some covers of some really cool comics and talk a little bit about each one of them. I'll go over any of the stories. If anybody has interest in a future video, I have a few viewers who check out my comic book videos right now, not many. I got a lot of comics, and if I get people interested in that, along with my nature videos, I'll talk about things you're interested in. I'm pretty new to YouTube. I just make videos at random. I don't have any intentions of getting following or anything like that, but if there are people out there who are interested in old school comics, I've been reading comics for about, wow, I hate to say it, over 40 years of my life, and so, you know, I know a little bit about them. I'm wearing a Superman shirt. I'm not a huge DC fan. I do like DC, but when I was a kid, I came up, really loved the classic Marvel comics. Early on, FF was my first true love. The first comic I ever bought was FF Annual number 13 off the newsstand. Let's see here, the Avengers, of course, and then around 1979, with issue 131, I got into the X-Men. This is several years later. This is around 1988. This is picking up with issue number 225. Check out that awesome cover. You have the X-Men on there fighting the one of the newer incarnations of the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants. The Brotherhood of Evil Mutants was at one time, or typically associated, being led by Magneto. Here, Mystique, who's been a character established for quite some time in Marvel, is the leader. The Blob, who was one of the original members, is on there. But then we have some newer guys. We have Avalanche, and I believe that's Spiral up there. Your X-Men team at this time, they've kind of got a revision on the team. Psych and all the old leaders, all the old school characters are gone. The main players on there are Colossus. Rogue, who started out as a villain, is now a solid member of the team, although there's tension between her and other members. Wolverine, of course, is on there. He's sporting a brown outfit around this time. Then we got some other characters on here, like the Dazzler. He's not shown on the cover, but Longshot, who is an alien, is on the team as well. I'm not sure if he's actually a mutant or not. He might be a mutant alien, but he's definitely not a Homo sapien. He looks human enough, but he's of a different species. And the not shown is Storm. Storm's away. She's still in the book, but she's not formally with the team at this point. She's in some sort of a netherworld or magical region, another dimension, isolated from the team with Forge, and she's also depowered at this time, although she is in quite a few issues without any powers, kicking a lot of butt, and she comes back. She's never totally gone from the book, but awesome cover. Silvestri art. The writing in all these books is Chris Claremont, of course, who's an awesome writer. So this is beginning of a story arc called The Fall of the Mutants, which is just that. They're going to apparently be killed. Their main adversary in here is not in this story arc, which I'm just going to sketch out, is not the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants. It's really a trickster character called Naze, who's sort of a Native American spiritual incarnation that's ultra powerful, another reality warper who he's a spirit, but he can possess bodies, take on a form in reality, although his power base is definitely non-physical. And so that's always, when you have really powerful characters on team, people like Colossus and so forth, you always want to get people in there who can do reality warping and things like that, where those power sets become less effective. I mean, it kind of gets old to see guys like Colossus and Wolverine fighting, the Blob and other Juggernaut and guys like that. You like to add these interesting mythical type characters. A lot of this action takes place not in New York City or Westchester County, where a lot of X-Men adventure takes place, but takes place in Dallas, Texas, which was a sort of an interesting site to set it up in a place called Eagle Tower, which I'm not sure if that actually exists or not. After this story arc, what basically happens, I'm not going to spoil it, but they fight Naze. They ultimately, of course, do win. But what happens is that they want to appear to the world as if they had died, so they can go into seclusion, and they're being hotly hunted at this point in time by groups like the Marauders and so forth. So they figure it's better to use the fact that it looks like they're dead. There's a limited number of people that know, or I'm not sure if anybody besides people on the team know that they're alive at this point. I think the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants thinks they're dead as well. Xavier thinks they're dead. and they figure it's a good way for them to strike back at their enemies from in secret. So it's a great plot device by Chris Claremont, which he was really a master of writing. Like when I do a little writing of sci-fi and fantasy, and I always talk about, like, when I talk about great writers, I'll talk about literary writers like Melville, or in sci-fi somebody like James Tiptree Jr. I really love her work. In classic literature, Melville. In modernism, Faulkner or Flannery O'Connor are authors that I really like. But as I'm going to say Chris Claremont, I see you're throwing a comic book writer on there. I'm like, yeah, he's great in terms of characterization and evolving a plot with a myriad of threads mixed in, but not making it so miasmatic that you can't enjoy it. So what happens is, the spoiler alert, at the end of the story, a celestial character by the name of Roma comes down and opens up something called the Siege Perilous, which goes back to like Arthurian legend type of stories. I believe Roma was a Captain Britain or an Excalibur character. Originally, she's works on the side of the good guys. She lets them go through it, and by doing such, they sort of are cast into a new life. They keep their same physical embodiment, but they're hidden from reality. I don't think they can be picked up by detectors or sensors or cameras or things like that. So you can only see them with the naked eye. So they become sort of like ghosts, and they end up going to the Australian outback, which sets up the next part of the story. So that was 227. In issue 228, it's sort of in memoriam story, and it's just a breather. Claremont was really good between major arcs of putting in something either comedic or just offbeat from the main story to kind of give you a little rest and to reset the beat of the story. And so this story is something that happens in Dazzler's past, with Dazzler's in it and Wolverine. And they're dealing with some sort of an agent with superpowers. It's sort of a clandestine spy type of story with a bounty hunter, and it has nothing to do with the main plot of the story. It's just a really cool backstory to develop Wolverine more, develop a little bit more of the Dazzler, and some sort of an adventure that happened in the years past, but sort of establishing these characters had some connectivity. Kind of a standalone one-issue story. You could actually skip over this if you wanted to, but why? It's a great story. I would read it. So then we get into the next phase of this. Is issue number 228, another Silvestri. It looks like a Silvestri cover. Yep, Silvestri. Really good story. So Storm's back on team now. In this time period, she goes through various haircuts. She kind of went through a punk rock phase around this time. Now she's growing her hair back in. She doesn't don the full black flowing cape she wears and all that. She's kind of wearing more of a punkish type outfit. A lot of characters in this time, it was kind of like another wave of punk rock, New York hardcore, stuff like that. And all these guys, they're about my age. They probably were listening to Warzone or Agnostic Front when they were writing these stories. They kind of punked everybody out. These are all New York-based guys. They probably were 20-something years old, 30 years old at the time, if that, and listening to the various music and seeing the looks of the time. But definitely a lot of New York punk type influence on the characters. Even in this time period, Sue Storm gets like a punkish haircut, and so you have Colossus, Wolverine again, Storm. You got your heavy hitters in here, and they're fighting a bunch of semi-mechanical beings. I guess you call them cyborgs. What happens is that earlier in the issues 130s, Wolverine pretty much trashed a whole bunch of Hellfire Club cronies. They were like mercs, if you will, and somewhere in there, they don't tell you all the details, Donald Pierce apparently patched them back together and made them cyborgs. And, they have various powers. They have built-in weapons, and they got some, super strength and things like that. You would associate with cyborgs. And there's a couple weirdos on the team. There's one that can has tendrils come out of his eyes, has some sort of hypnotic effect on people and things like that. I think they call him Pretty Boy. But most of them are guys with names like Bone Crusher and things like that. And they're all mercs. They all hate Wolverine big time. And while the X-Men are hiding out in the outback, These guys, I believe, accidentally, it's a fortuitous accident, accidentally show up in this place. I think it's like a hideout for them, and the X-Men happen to be there. It's like an abandoned mining town or something. It's just a convenient plot to get the X-Men to fight some fun guys that are robotic and trash some dudes after fighting a more mythical character. So again, Claremont's doing something that's fun. He's he's flipping the script a little bit in terms of the type of beings they fight. This is just another it's not really standalone issue, ties in, but it deals with a lot with character development of Longshot. So this is issue number 230, another Silvestri cover. Longshot, I never really dug the character that much, to tell you the truth, but in retrospect, maybe now that I'm older, I like the guy. I don't think I liked his look. He kind of looked like somebody who was in Wham or a Flock of Seagulls or something. He didn't have... I didn't like the look of him. He's blonde with kind of a mullet going on and very thin, no muscles. And I didn't like the guy. But he's very agile. He can throw different... he's like different throwing blades and stuff that he's good with. I think he has an element of luck associated with him, like he's a long shot, like he can jump off a building and land perfectly on a telephone pole and sit there. He has a little bit of a luck element, not as much as like Domino or some character like that, but he's lucky unto himself. I don't think he can hex you or like the Scarlet Witch or anything like that, but I think he has the power to feel objects sort of and pick up the intellect or spirit of the object and maybe see the person who possessed it. So he has some minor kind of interesting powers. So this deals with him coming in contact with the loot and the riches that the Reavers, those are what the cyborgs are called, had hoarded, and he's sort of becoming inundated with all the places and people, places they came from, the people they were stolen from. Some of them murdered, some just traumatized because they lost a family heirloom or something. And it's a story about how the X-Men basically are going to give the stuff back to people. You might wonder how the X-Men got around in the Outback. Well, what happened was there was an Aborigine there by the name of Gateway. Very interesting character to me. I always wish they had a backstory to him, but maybe that's what made him interesting, is he's just presented. He sits on a lone hill. He's by himself. He has no sort of tent or any sustenance. He just sits there. And when they come to him, he never says a word, but if they want to go somewhere, he sort of knows it, and he swings the bolo, opens up a portal, and you go through it, and he'll bring you back when you need to come back. You don't have to say, hey, Gateway, bring me back. He just knows when to bring you back. And so it's a convenient way of characters being able to come in and out of that region, this remote Outback region. We got a little side story here. Years before, Illyana Rasputin, who's Colossus's sister, and if you've seen the New Mutants movie, which came out a few years ago, it's great. What's her name? Anna Taylor-Joy, the really cool chick from movies like The Witch or Northlander. The Northman, that's the name of the movie. She's in that as well. Really good actress. I really like her look. I like her performances. She played Illyana Rasputin in that, but she's been converted to magic at this point. She's been to Limbo, this region between Earth and Hell, effectively, and she's associated with this demon. He's like, I'd say a subsidiary demon of, he's under Belasco. Belasco's kind of up there with Mephisto. Then you got this guy named Sim, who's just a bulky, he doesn't have a lot of magical powers. He's sort of a muscular, strong demon. He's like the Hulk of demons, if you will. And basically it's an adventure of Colossus going to Limbo to help Illyana Rasputin on a mission. It's basically a standalone issue. These are the ones I really like here. And I'm running out of time here. I'm limited with my time on my little Android phone. This is issue number 232, and then this is getting good here. This is, I remember it was summertime or springtime, and I was sitting outside. I used to work at a gym, sitting out there just reading this comic, just like, don't bother me, I'm reading this comic. It was so good. This is The Brood Come Back. The Brood were, maybe in the issues 150s, 160s. They were a big, they went for about a year. They had a very long Brood storyline. This one is not as long, but it's chock full of fun. The Brood come to Earth. I think that's their first time there. Yeah, they kind of rip off of the Alien from the Alien series, but they're awesome. They come to Earth, and their goal is to possess mutants to to make a stronger brood race. They show up in a giant shark. I mean, it's like the coolest thing ever. There are these people camping out in the woods, and they're like, "Wow, what's that giant shark?" And this was before what's it called? That thing on Discovery, Sharknado. The guy was kind of like, maybe it got picked up in a tornado. That might have been the whole inspiration of Sharknado. He's like, it looks dead, and he gets over, and the thing bites him, and then the brood come pouring out. Yeah, these are just action-packed, really good stories. Here's one of the brood who's been inundated with some mutant powers. They meet some mutants who we don't know, just people that some of the people didn't even realize they were mutants and take their powers. It's just, so some have super strength or some psychic abilities or can fly, things like that. And, they have just a lot of pitched action. What makes it special is that they tie this in with an evangelical, what do you call that, where they all get the assembly of people. The brood go there, and there's this really great scene where this evangelical priest, who's portrayed wholly as a good person, he's not, it's not any kind of a weird portrayal of him, but he encounters Wolverine with the brood within him and does an exorcism on him, and he, in a sense, you always wonder, did he help exercise that creature out of him? Because Wolverine does get better. It's kind of a healing factor, but it looked like Wolverine was losing the end of it for a while. And so it was just a really cool story, because at the end of it, the guy takes it as he did a successful exorcism. Wolverine's like, it was the healing power, but whatever, bub. But really, really good story. I'm going to leave it there, because the next arc is, a whole bunch of, I've got about 10 more comics here, but I only got about a minute left. But I'll just tell you, if you're a younger viewer just happening on this channel, it's not really a channel, and you're reading comics today, give some old school comics a shot. Buy a Masterworks, buy Epic. It's a really good way to check out old school Marvel comics. Yeah, you can get an omnibus if you want. They're real expensive and bulky. I think the Epics are the way to go, at least in the beginning. And check out some classic X-Men. Doesn't really matter where you go. If you go to the late 70s, all through the 80s, any of the Epics that go with that, just pick them up at random. They will blow your mind how good they are. If you have the comic book sensibility anywhere near what mine is, maybe you won't like it. I absolutely love them, and I have them in the original form, as you see, most of them, almost the whole collection. I'm missing a few here and there. I lent some out, never came back, but I have them in Epics and Masterworks and omnibuses. I've read all these stories several times, and over my life, I'll probably read them a few more times here, and it's, when I get really old, I kind of hope to be in a retirement home or wherever I'm at, still reading some comics along with some other fun stuff. So take care, have a great day. Wild Man Z out.